Hi, I'm Claire, and welcome to my channel, Becoming Aligned. So, hands up if you've ever set a New Year goal and by February, forgotten about it. How's this for a stat? 80% of people in the world have quit on their January New Year's resolutions or goals by February. Longer term studies say or suggest that only 8 or 9% of people maintain their resolutions for the whole year. So that's not because only a small percentage of people are capable, or it's not that the majority of people are setting unrealistic goals. It tells us something that no one is really talking about. And that is the way that we've been taught to go after our goals isn't actually best practice. In fact, that's pretty shit practice if you look at the stats. So, in this video, I want to talk about what sits underneath our goals, the part that fuels whether you actually achieve them or whether they just stay in the dusty, dark recesses of your journals and your vision boards for the year. So, I'm going to share three pillars that shape the quality of your life and why, when these are in place, your day-to-day experience of life, of challenges, of people, of circumstances and situations feel better and you can have more peace of mind and more joy when you have these in place. Sound good? Let's dive in. So, at the start of a new year, most people focus on strategy, goals, plans, discipline, how they're going to take out actions. And so they do all the things, apply the actions, apply the strategy, go through the challenges, get the growth lessons, work hard. And still, at the end of the year, they can feel like the quality of their life hasn't really shifted. Some people at the end of the years can feel disappointed or anxious or worried, despite their efforts. And it's rarely because, like that's rarely, it's my accent, it's rarely because they didn't do enough. That can be a myth, right? That keeps us stuck on the treadmill of do more, work harder, be more disciplined. It's usually because they're building on the same foundation, that same inner structure. And that's like planting a new fruit tree in old soil and expecting the tree to grow fruitfully and healthily. But here's the thing, like action doesn't create desired results. Action amplifies the energy it's taken from. So if the energy we're taking action in is from old, stale energy fueled by lack, so for example, I need to get this result, otherwise I'm a failure. Or what if I take this action and nobody's interested? Or what if I'm not good enough? Or what if everyone else is better than me? What if no one wants to hear what I have to say? That kind of stale energy. If we're taking action in that, then we're going to be getting the same results. So we've got to look at the foundation from what we're building from. So your life is a reflection of your foundation or your internal structure. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's stay with the tree analogy. For a tree to grow tall, it needs deep roots. So by foundation, I mean your roots. How do you think about yourself? How do you talk about yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you lead yourself through challenges? How do you invest in yourself? How do you trust yourself to make the right decisions and moves? What do you tolerate from others? These are our foundations and they dictate how we experience situations and circumstances day to day. So, two people can take the same action and have completely different experiences depending on their foundations. So, let's take a really common example like asking for a pay rise, or if you're a business owner, pitching your services to a potential client. So, if one person is grounded, she knows the value she brings. She's clear about what she's asking for and why. So she asks, she listens, and whatever the response is, she stays anchored in herself. The other person is also asking, but from a foundation that's not as solid. She might be thinking, am I asking too much? Oh, I couldn't ask for that. What if they say no? Will I look greedy? What if they don't think I'm worth it? Same situation, same asking or same action, but very different internal experiences. And that difference changes how the conversation feels, changes the energy and how it's received and how she walks away from it. And that's what I mean by foundation. It's the inner place that you're standing on while you're taking the action. So, you know why foundations are necessary. Let's jump into how we build them deeper so they're going to support you with your big, beautiful, audacious goals. So there's three basic pillars to check in with, and that's what I'm going to be covering today. So the first one is mindset. How do you think and feel about yourself? So here's some questions to ask regarding mindset. When I imagine my goals or my next level, do I feel aligned with achieving it? Or do I feel tense? Do I feel contracted? Do I feel uncertain or doubtful? Do I doubt my skills and abilities or my potential to hit the goals? One question to ask. How do I talk to myself when I'm under pressure or when things aren't going according to plan? How do I treat myself? Do I feel safe within myself when there's uncertainty? Or do I need to know exactly what's going to happen? Do I show kindness and compassion to myself? What do I allow to disturb my peace of mind? And why is that? So, mindset isn't about forcing confidence. It's about trusting your capacity to hold more, to lead yourself, to stay with yourself as life lifes. Mindset reflects how safe we feel in ourselves to handle any situation that comes through us. So, our mind is like a muscle. It needs to be trained. It's the basis of our entire experience. So, this is a key one to focus on. And most of us just allow our thoughts to run rampant and we act on them without actually inquiring into what are my thoughts and beliefs about myself? What are my thoughts and beliefs that are setting me up for my experience of life? So, the second element or pillar to set up a solid foundation to hit your goals and have a different quality of life this year is values. So, values are the principles that orient your life. They're what your choices naturally organize around. So, your values show up in how you spend your time, in what gets your attention or your focus, what you prioritize without having to think about it. So, in other words, value answers the question, what matters most to me to shape how I live? And when values aren't consciously chosen, fear often ends up making our decisions, along with its friends, insecurity, doubt, worry. So values set the direction of where we're going. So let me give you an example. My values are freedom, joy, love, truth, and curiosity. So the value of freedom for me shows up in how I run my schedule, how I run my diary. I consciously block time out so I'm not back to back with meetings. I like to have freedom. I like to have spaciousness in my diary because I value that. It shows up where I live. I follow the sun around the world. So I spend 4 months of the year in New Zealand with my family. Love is another value of me. So I want to honor that and how I spend time with my loved ones, how I spend time in their presence. Am I on all the time or am I focused and present? Am I being where my feet are with my family, with my loved ones? And so, with freedom and love as the two values that are high for me, I've created a business that allows me to have freedom to live and work where I want, time to be with my family and friends. So, my value of curiosity shows up in how I meet the unknown or how I meet uncertainty. So, when challenges rise, rather than reacting from panic or fear, my first response is curiosity. what might this situation be showing me? How will I grow from this experience? What can I learn here in this? How is this shaping me as a person? So if someone rejects what I'm saying, for example, rather than react or feel rejected, I often go into curiosity. What's their view and how did they get there? If they're open to that conversation, some people aren't. So if you value health, it shows up in how you love and care for your body daily, not just when you get sick. The challenge around values doesn't come because people don't have values. It's usually because they've never looked at how their values are actually operating within their life. So your life already reflects your values, not necessarily your conscious values, but your lived ones. So here's some questions for you to ask to start contemplating your values and how oriented your life is toward them currently. What drains me, or what contracts me, and what expands me? What lights me up? What do I lean toward and what do I lean away from? If I could protect one quality in my life more deliberately, what would it be? What do I want my life to feel like most of the time? Or when I wake up, how do I want to feel about my day? Those are some questions to start contemplating your values consciously. And so now you have a framework for your values. This is where the third pillar comes in to support them, and that is standards. So if values set the direction, standards determine that direction actually gets lived. So if you think about values being, if we think about architecture, building a house, values are the blueprint, the design plan, and standards are the build quality. So you can love the plan or the blueprint, but it's the build quality that determines whether the structure actually holds. And so likewise, you can value something deeply and still not have standards that support it. And this is where most people can rush into setting goals without actually looking at the foundations from which they're building from. So for example, if I said I valued freedom, but then worked in a 9 to 6 job, coming home, opening the laptop and doing work in the evenings, to me and how I see freedom for me, I wouldn't be in alignment with that value. I'd be out of alignment. And so standards are the baseline from what you operate from. It's what you allow, it's what you tolerate, it's what you default to, particularly in challenging or uncomfortable situations. For me, they're where the rubber hits the road and whether we actually achieve our values or not. And our values determine our quality of life. So let's give you sort of some clear differences between values and standards because they're very similar in terms of how people can view them, but they have very different points or meanings or structures. So you can value peace. And a standard then is not staying in conversations or dynamics that constantly create tension, right? Or choosing not to work in a weapons manufacturing business would be a standard. You can value self-respect, and then a standard would be how you speak to yourself respectfully or not abandoning your own needs and desires to make others feel comfortable. You can value health, and a standard would be not treating exhaustion as normal or making sure rest is a priority for you. So standards matter because life organizes itself around what we treat as acceptable. I always say with my clients, to the level that we love and respect ourselves is to the level that others love and respect us, to the level that opportunities and abundance and life rise to meet us. What we put out, we will always receive back. And that's why standards are foundational. It's where intention becomes experience. So this isn't really about goals at all. It's about the energy that you're living from while you move toward them. And when you work from aligned energy, an aligned mindset that trusts you, that builds trust, self-trust, self-reliance, self-leadership, when you have aligned values that guide your life, like a North Star, and you have standards that protect that and protect what matters to you, your quality of life shifts first. Your goals stop feeling like something that you have to chase, and they become a natural extension of who you are. And so this way of living changes more than outcomes. It changes how your day feels from day to day. It makes the journey the deliverable rather than the outcome. Energy first, strategy second, joy always. Or one of my favorite sayings is when you go within, when you start building from within your internal structures and foundations to have deep roots, to have solid foundations, when you go within, you'll never go without. So if this resonates, hit subscribe for more of the energetics of self-leadership, abundance, and success that doesn't cost you yourself. Or if you'd like more support on becoming aligned, then click below to check out my 8-week immersion that starts in February. Thanks for now, and I'll see you in the next video.